Hey there, I'm Amanda, a 28-year-old event planner with a knack for turning chaos into unforgettable moments. Right now, I'm standing in my office surrounded by mood boards and color swatches when my phone buzzes. It's Mom, calling yet again to discuss wedding cake flavors. Honey, are you sure you don't want to try the lavender lemon? It's unique, she says, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. I can't help but smile. Mom, you know John's allergic to lavender. Let's stick with classic vanilla, okay? That's my mom, Lisa, always looking out for me. We've been as close as thieves ever since I can remember, and she's the reason I got into event planning in the first place. Watching her throw amazing birthday parties for me as a kid lit a spark that turned into my passion. Speaking of sparks, let me tell you about John. We met during a disastrous corporate event I was managing. The DJ had bailed, the catering was late, and I was one meltdown away from crying into the table centerpieces. Just then, this tall, calm guy strolled up and asked, "Need a hand?" Turns out he's a tech wizard, and within minutes, he had the sound system up and running. We've been inseparable ever since. Now, we're planning our own big day, and I couldn't be more excited. But there's this nagging feeling I can't shake, and it's all tied to my grandmother, Catherine. Heading to see Catherine today. My best friend Megan asks over the phone, her voice crackling. Need me to come? I can run interference if she starts grilling you. Nah, it's just to drop off the wedding invite, I reply, trying to sound more confident than I feel. But as I pull up to Catherine's house, my cousin Stephen, who's fixing her porch swing, gives me a look that says, "You know what you're walking into." Inside, Catherine is holding court from her favorite armchair. "Amanda, dear, come closer," she beckons, and I hand her the invite, keeping my tone light. "Big day's coming up, Grandma. Wouldn't be complete without you there." Her eyes narrow as she takes the envelope. "Yes, I suppose it wouldn't. Have you considered wearing your hair up? It would show off your unique features." There it is, that subtle but unmistakable critique. I force a smile. "Thanks for the tip, Grandma. I'll think about it." As I leave, her parting words linger ominously. Family's a funny thing, isn't it? Full of surprises. The unsettling vibe sticks with me, but for now, I focus on planning a wedding that's nearly perfect. Nearly because that feeling of unease refuses to fade. The big day arrives, and I'm a mess of nerves and excitement. My dress fits like a glove, and the venue looks like a fairy tale come to life. Megan gushes as she adjusts my veil. "Amanda, you look absolutely stunning." "Thanks, Meg," I say, my voice shaking. I can't believe it's finally happening. Just then, Mom peeks her head into the bridal suite. "Honey, your grandmother's here. She's asking to see you." I frown. Already? The ceremony doesn't start for another hour. Still, I step out to greet Catherine, who looks strangely unsettled. "Amanda, dear," she says, fidgeting with her purse. "Before everything begins, have you ever felt like you didn't quite belong in this family?" "Grandma, what are you talking about? This isn't the time for—" "Just answer the question, dear." Exasperated, I sigh. "No, I've always felt like I belonged. Can we please focus on the wedding?" She nods, but there's a glint in her eye that sends a shiver down my spine. "Of course, dear." The ceremony begins, and as I walk down the aisle, John's smile calms my nerves. Everything feels perfect, until a voice cuts through the air. "Stop this wedding." A woman stands at the back, tall and elegant, her face a mask of anguish. "I'm sorry, but I can't keep quiet any longer. Amanda, I'm your real mother." The crowd gasps, and it feels like the ground has been ripped out from under me. "What? No, that's impossible." My mom, Lisa, jumps to her feet, her face pale. "What is the meaning of this?" She looks at me, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Amanda, we'll figure this out, together." I nod numbly, unable to speak. Through the commotion, I notice Catherine. Unlike everyone else, she isn't shocked. Instead, she wears a smug smile. Realization dawns on me. "Grandma," I whisper. Before I could confront her, Megan and Stephen were suddenly at my side. "Amanda, this is insane. Something's not right here," Stephen said, his eyes narrowing with suspicion. Megan nodded, determined. "We're going to get to the bottom of this. I promise." As quickly as she had appeared, the mystery woman vanished into the crowd. Guests scattered, calling out, trying to find her, but she was gone. My perfect day had turned into a nightmare. Questions swirled in my mind. Who was that woman? Why would Catherine do this? Was my whole life a lie? Lisa approached me, tears streaming down her face. Honey, I don't know what's happening, but you have to believe me. I'm your mother. I gave birth to you. I raised you. This has to be some kind of horrible mistake. I need some air, I mumbled, pushing through the crowd. As I stumbled outside, I heard Catherine's voice behind me, soft but cutting. The truth always comes out, dear. Always. The days following the wedding disaster were a blur. I postponed the reception indefinitely and holed up in my apartment with John. The constant flood of calls and messages was overwhelming. Amanda, John said gently one morning, we need to talk about what happened. I sighed, running a hand through my unwashed hair. What's there to talk about? My grandmother apparently thinks I'm adopted and hired some actress to ruin our wedding. Just another Tuesday, right? John didn't laugh. This is serious, Amanda. We need to get to the bottom of this. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Megan. Amanda, you won't believe what Stephen and I found. Can we come over? 20 minutes later, Megan and Stephen arrived at my place, looking exhausted. Okay, spill it, I demanded. Stephen leaned forward, eyes intense. We did some digging. Turns out Catherine's been making regular donations to a local theater group for the past 6 months. Megan jumped in, and get this, one payment from her account went to an actress named Claire. The amount and timing line up perfectly with the wedding fiasco. My head spun. Are you saying Catherine hired an actress to pretend to be my mother? But why? That's what we need to find out, John said, squeezing my hand. I knew what I had to do. I called Catherine and demanded she come over. When she arrived, her face was a mask of innocence. Grandma, we know about the actress. Why did you do this? Catherine's eyes hardened. I did what I had to do. You deserve to know the truth about your origins. What truth? There is no truth. You made this all up. Catherine shook her head. You were adopted, Amanda. I've always known. Just then, my mom burst into the room. That's enough, Catherine. I've kept quiet about your manipulations for years, but this ends now. What followed was a revelation that shattered my world. My mom, Lisa, unleashed years of pent-up frustration, detailing how Catherine had always tried to control and sabotage our lives. She's even gone as far as sabotaging your college applications so you'd stay close to home, Lisa revealed, voice shaking. I felt like I was drowning. Is that true? I demanded. Catherine's silence was all the confirmation I needed. The next few days were a whirlwind. John and I barely spoke, the weight of everything straining our relationship. I threw myself into uncovering the truth, determined to end this nightmare. During a late-night search through old boxes, I found it, a dusty folder containing my birth records. There, in black and white, was proof that Lisa was indeed my biological mother. With shaking hands, I called Megan. I found the proof. Catherine's been lying this whole time. Megan's voice was filled with relief. Thank God. But Amanda, there's more. We found out Catherine's been interfering in your life for years. Remember Michael from college? She paid him to break up with you. The revelations kept coming. Catherine had meddled in nearly every aspect of my life, always under the guise of protecting me. Armed with the truth, I confronted her one last time. Why, Grandma? Why would you do all this? Catherine's composed facade finally cracked. I was trying to protect you from making the same mistakes your mother did. I thought if I controlled everything, you'd have the perfect life. Tears streamed down my face. But it wasn't your life to control. You've hurt so many people, including yourself. As I left Catherine's house that day, a heavy weight lifted from my shoulders. The truth was out. Painful as it was, now came the hard part. Rebuilding my life and relationships in the aftermath of Catherine's web of lies. I decided to call a family meeting, my heart pounding as everyone gathered in our living room. John squeezed my hand reassuringly as I stood to address the room. I've asked you all here because it's time for the truth to come out. I began, my voice trembling slightly. Catherine has been deceiving all of us for years. I laid out everything. The hired actress, the sabotaged college applications, the manipulated relationships. With each revelation, gasps and murmurs filled the room. Catherine, seated in the corner, finally spoke. Now, Amanda, you're blowing this out of proportion. I'd only ever wanted what was best for you. My Uncle Tom stood up, his face flushed with anger. Best for her? Catherine, you've been manipulating this family for decades. Remember when you convinced me Sarah was cheating? You nearly ruined my marriage. I took a deep breath and made my decision clear. I'm cutting all ties with Catherine. I'm filing for a restraining order, and I suggest you all consider your relationships with her carefully. Catherine's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful child. After everything I've done for you. That's enough, Mom, my father interrupted, his voice stern. Lisa and I are considering legal action for the emotional distress you've caused our family. 1 year later, I sat in my office admiring a photo of John and me on our wedding day. My event planning business was thriving, and our marriage was stronger than ever. My phone buzzed, and it was Stephen. Amanda, you're not going to believe this, he said. Catherine's been arrested for financial fraud. Looks like she was running the Ponzi scheme through her charity work. I let out a long, relieved breath. Wow, I guess karma finally caught up with her. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on the tumultuous journey of the past year. The pain Catherine caused was still there, a dull ache that might never fully heal, but I felt stronger, more resilient. I thought about the little girl I used to be, always seeking Catherine's approval, and I wished I could tell her that everything would be okay, that she would find the strength to break free from toxic influence and build a life filled with genuine love and trust. A knock at my office door pulled me from my thoughts. It was John, grinning widely. Ready for lunch, Mrs. Event Planner Extraordinaire? I smiled, grabbing my bag. As we walked out, hand in hand, I realized that despite everything, or perhaps because of it, I had never felt more like myself. The future stretched out before us, bright and full of possibility, free from the shadows of the past. The story of Amanda and Catherine's manipulations had come to an end. Now, I have a question for you. If you discovered a family member had been manipulating your life for years, would you cut ties completely or try to forgive them? What would it take for you to consider rebuilding that relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments below.